All right, guys, in our last episode, we uncovered the science behind obesity. And that's why it's so much more than just calories in, calories out. Now it's time to answer the big question, right? How do we actually treat obesity effectively? And if everything was as it was, then why do we have an 80% obesity in America, right? And so think of this as your training arc. It's not about quick fixes, but mastering the tools and the techniques that really work. In this episode, we will dig deep into talking about the new cutting edge treatments like the GLP-1s, the GLP-GIP combos, lifestyle interventions, and things that actually stick. And not only that, your secret weapon for long-term success. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll have a roadmap for achieving your own transformation, your own ultra instinct moment where science and strategy come together to help you or your patients reach their full potential. Let's talk now about the role of medications in obesity treatment. And now let's start with one of the most exciting advancements in obesity medicine. Medications, right? These aren't quick fixes. These are honestly tools that help patients overcome these biological barriers to weight loss and that hormone disconnect. And that hormone we're going to be talking about is going to be a peptide called GLP-1. I'm sure many of you have heard of this in medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, right? And they're total game changers. And how they work is they mimic a hormone that regulates appetite, blood sugar, and how they move food through the GI tract, which makes patients feel fuller and longer. So GLP-1 is a hormone that helps with appetite, lowers sugar, and helps them to stay to their program longer, which makes them feel fuller and longer. So think of these medications as your senzu beans, right? But they'll only work for you as long as you stay in the fight. And not only that, the senzu beans must be given at the right time to the right person, right? And what's crazy is that this can lead to 15% body weight in some cases. So this is like Goku going straight from base form to Super Saiyan, right? And there are other medications I'm sure you guys have heard of, that is the tirzepatide or the Mounjaro or the Zepbounds of the world, right? And so what this is a GLP and GIP combination. And what this means is several things, right? And what one key thing that I've noticed in practice is that it helps with those side effects, that upset stomach, those burps that taste like sulfur and eggs, right? That's how you know the patient had maybe eaten something that they weren't supposed to, right? And what this also means is that for weight loss, well, it's going to be much more than the Wegovys of the world. It's going to be about 5% more on average, right? And who could benefit from these medications are patients that really struggle with hunger or have conditions like type 2 diabetes, but understand that they're not for everyone, right? And they work as part of a more comprehensive plan, right? And what these medications also are good for is patients that have these sugar cravings, right? They'll tell you, man, I have this sweet tooth, right? And so what that also does is that blocks the pathways in the brain that control sugar cravings and those types of things. And as a fun fact is that now these medications are being looked at in psychology for their anti-addictive properties, especially in alcohol and opioids, but the research is ongoing. And there are other medication options like the phentermine, naltrexone, bupropions of the world, right? And each have their own risks and benefits, and you need to be able to tailor these choices to the patient's needs. And that's important, is to know your patients, right? And just think of these medications as your arsenal, not quite your spirit bomb, right? But they do pack a punch, so use them wisely, all right? And so medications are just one piece of the puzzle, right? So sustainable weight loss requires lifestyle changes that are realistic and culturally sensitive. You don't want to give these patients unrealistic or unattainable goals. Let's keep them smart. As far as the nutrition goal, forget the cookie cutter diets. A Mediterranean diet may work for one patient, while another patient likes plant-based eating. And so the key here is tailoring the plan that fits the cultural preferences and lifestyle. And not only that, is culture, right? Just like Goku adapts his fighting style depending on his opponent. Next is that taboo subject we all hate, right? It's exercise, right? It's not about burning calories, but it's also about improving overall health and mental well-being. As we do in everything, start small, go slow, right? 10-minute walks can add up tremendously. It's just like training with Master Roshi, right? You gotta take it slow and steady, right? You don't see results overnight, but each step builds strength. This is anecdotal, but these are things that I see in practice. Is my number one fear is that of muscle atrophy. When we lose weight, we don't get to pick where it comes from, do we, right? And this can actually be a problem if we lose weight, gain it, lose weight, gain it. What that means is every time you lose weight, you're also losing muscle. So you want to support those muscles with a high protein diet, around 60 to 90 grams. I would like you to have more, but you also got to drink water, right? And as far as exercise, I don't necessarily do it for weight loss. I do it as part of therapy. Therapy, think about when you get outside in nature, you feel really peaceful and calm and at ease, right? And not only that, I like the weight training aspect because once again, we're talking about muscle atrophy, which we do not want with these patients because we're causing more harm than good. And as a fun fact is now there is a medication being developed that is combining GLP-1s with a biologic that will help you hold on to the muscle that you have already. That's exciting news. And onto the most missed thing is mental health. It is overlooked in weight management, but it's critical. Tools like cognitive behavioral therapy help patients address emotional eating or binge eating disorders. And a pro tip that I use is called the BED7, right? The Binge Eating Disorder 7 Questionnaire, which screens for underlying issues. And these patients may stick out to you because they may have addictive personalities or may have a history of addiction of their own. Now that I think about it, one patient told me that just learning how to manage stress was much more impactful than any diet that she's ever tried. It changed her relationship with food entirely. I was so proud. This was like her Super Saiyan breakthrough moment. Man, I couldn't be happier, right? So this is a story that I love to share because it's very common in these patients and they need to understand good coping mechanisms, self-care, and hell, go do some yoga or Pilates. It's good for the brain, right? And speaking of mental health, right? Let's take a closer look at why it is such a critical part of obesity treatment. Stress. Well, you think, well, stress is the killer, right? Why is the increase in cortisol levels that can lead to fat storage, especially around the belly and midsection? Addressing stress isn't just good for mental health, it's essential for weight loss. It's just like Vegeta learning to control his motions, right? Once he did, he was able to unlock new levels of power and meet the love of his life, Bulma, and have his beautiful trunks. Emotional eating, let's go talk about this. This is important because we use food sometimes as emotional mechanisms for sadness, anxiety, stress, and behavioral therapy helps them to develop healthier strategies for managing these feelings. Think about it, we eat when we're happy, we eat when we're sad, or even when we're bored. I can't tell you how I can sit down when I'm studying to just polish off a whole bag of popcorn. So changing how we interact with food is just so key. I know it helped me on my weight loss journey when I lost over 100 pounds. So I can't tell you how important this was for me, right? And one powerful approach that you can do is give them self-compassion, right? Instead of beating themselves up over setbacks, right? We're hard on ourselves. They learn to view themselves as part of the journey, just like Gohan learned from his mistakes before unlocking Super Saiyan 2. Amazing story. It's the same thing, right? So just as a quick tip, think about partnering with a mental health provider, LCSW, or whoever to integrate counseling services into your practice to make a world of difference to the patient. You've heard my stories. It's just such a powerful thing. All right, so I know you're asking the question of, how do we put these all together? Great question, right? And so the answer is not an easy thing. It is a comprehensive care plan that combines medication, lifestyle changes, and mental health support. And these plans should be personalized to your patient. Every patient is different. Some may need a GLP-1 alongside therapy, while others may just benefit from nutrition counseling and group support because there are certain patients that don't meet the criteria for GLP-1, such as needing to have 27% BMI with one underlying chronic condition or just a BMI of 30 or above. So next up is you're going to help them monitor their progress and focus on what I like to call non-scale victories, right? And regular follow-ups are key. Use tools like body composition, right, to track their progress beyond the scale. Patients love seeing improvements in muscle mass or visceral fat reduction or about their sleep and everything, or they have improvements in their energy and even libido, right? It's just like leveling up in your favorite RPG, right? You just don't focus on one skill tree. You've got 2 or 3, right? And you've got to balance your character for long-term success. Now we've covered treatments that actually work. And you might be wondering, how do you actually start offering these services as a healthcare provider, right? And in our next episode, I'm going to answer just that. And I'll show you how to build a thriving obesity medicine practice from ground up. That includes setting up your clinic to attract patients who really need your help the most. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Can you share this with someone who would like to learn more about weight loss, whether that be a patient or your fellow clinician? And I would appreciate if you let me know in the comments, and which treatment approach are you most curious about? Or is there anything that I may have missed? I would love to hear your thoughts. So until the next video, I've been Shane Grindle, the Medpreneur, and as always, may the force of entrepreneurship be with you.